And now for a final piece in today's edition of News in Conversation. The local civil society groups raised discrimination issues with the OAS human rights body just a short while ago. And today in our program, we have two representatives of those bodies. We have Schemel Patrick. She's an Advocacy and Communications Officer at the Society Against Sexual Orientation Discrimination, SASOD. And we have with her Colin Klautky. He's the chief of the Guyanese Organization of Indigenous People, GOIP. And of course, we're very pleased that you're here. Thank you for coming. We are so happy that you have joined us. I want to get straight to one big issue. I know you had a lot of representations, and but let me just say I'm going to invite you back to our program because you have important things you want to talk with us about. But first off, Ms. Colin, let me just get to this issue of one of the things I found interesting, the term buck people. And I want to start with this because it's a term that we say loosely, we say it, you know, we insult people with it. And this is something that you have put forward to the OAS. What is your position on this?
Good night. First, let me say upakoma, greetings in the Carib language. Yes, buck people, first of all, it is spelled B-O-K and not B-U-C-K. And like in Reebok, R-E-B-O-K.
You mean the boots?
The boots,
right.
Not the American coffee company Starbucks, not B-U-C-K.
Okay.
So that, everybody needs to be educated on the spelling. Now, the origin of buck is Dutch. They saw the indigenous people how they run through the forest, and they say, "Man, be like how you run." You know, it's like the wild deer, and that's why the name stuck. So it's actually meant as a compliment and not an insult.
And so it indicates speed, not.
It indicates speed, ability,
not stupidity.
agility, not stupidity.
Not stupidity.
It has nothing to do with stupidity or docility. So unfortunately, we have a huge misinterpretation of the word buck. So there are people trying to insult the first people of Guyana by calling them buck, but they're actually praising them by saying you can run fast, you know. So our people really need education on this, and I'm afraid that's quite a big job. It's going to take years to be done. As I put it, you're probably fast to see a kangaroo hopping along Regent Street than our people being educated as to the true meaning of the word buck in a short space of time.
But we do have, it is an offense actually for you to call someone bucking Guyana. You're not supposed to say that.
You are indeed not supposed to say that.
So is it that we're not educated on the laws of Guyana?
We're not educated in the laws of Guyana, and this is what needs to be done. It needs to be done in the schools. There's so many things the Guyanese, all Guyanese and indigenous Guyanese need to be educated on, right? So we don't know when that's going to happen.
All right, I want to turn it over to Schemel now because you have made some representations as well about discrimination against the LGBTQ community. Talk to me about that.
So, yeah, we a group of civil society organizations represented the Guyana Equality Forum at the hearings in Washington. SASOD was most concerned about discrimination as it relates to employment. A lot of complaints have come to us with persons in the LGBT community not being able to seek employment because of the discriminatory laws. So our major concern at the hearing was about these laws, calling for a repeal of the laws and also calling for the inclusion of grounds that could protect LGBT persons from being discriminated in the workplace. So that was particularly the inclusion of sexual orientation and gender identity in the Prevention of Discrimination Act that currently exists. It's about employment, but those grounds are not included. So because there is no provision for LGBT individuals, persons are discriminated in the workplace and they're not allowed to access employment.
And this is still happening in Guyana as we speak?
And it's still happening in Guyana. So the hearing was about discrimination in the enjoyment of economic, social, and cultural rights, like Colin alluded to. So those are some of the concerns that we took to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. These are some of the issues we faced, and the state had the opportunity to respond to some of the issues. The state was represented by Minister of Home Affairs and the Ambassador Beni Karan.
You mean Foreign Affairs, Caroline Rodriguez, right? Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so the state was represented, and the minister is extremely willing, and she seems enthusiastic to meet with us, because of course we all had recommendations. She wasn't aware of some of the issues, so now the next step is to meet with the minister to discuss further the issues and see how we could work, civil society and the state, to rectify some of these issues.
Well, Schemel, I know that you have a lot more to talk to us about, but I'm really interested, and this is really fascinating. I'm going to leave it, though, to Colin to just tell me, you also have an interesting element, and we have just about 2 minutes left of our program time. There's an interesting element to your representation that talks about the dying of your languages, some of your culture, aspects of your culture being destroyed. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, we focus specifically on 3 indigenous nations, namely the Waro, Carib, and Lokono. Lokono is actually Arawak. Yes, and you find these indigenous nations in regions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as well as 10. We find that the more coastal you are, the more threatened your language is. We made recommendations that the government should perhaps have this taught in the schools again. Languages taught. I did make a reference to what's happening in Kabukaburi, or what did happen in Kabukaburi when Father Bennett was there. They said prayers in the church service, and then they said in Lokono, and then they said it in English afterwards. Now, the church has a very strong influence in these communities. We're saying the church can play a huge role in language revival. But again, it all has to do with education, and the younger people must show interest. It's not. We only find in many communities the older people speaking it, and when they're dead and gone, the language is gone.
It's gone, it's lost with
them. That's
them
a great
as well.
tragedy.
And it is really a tragedy. Well, thank
Yes.
you, Schemel, and thank you, Colin.
You're welcome.
I'm happy that you came, and of course, an invitation is extended for you to come back, because we'd certainly like to do some more with you on our program. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Well, that's our program for tonight. It was an extended program, so this is not going to happen again. But because we had so many very big issues we wanted to cover today, thank you to NCN for accommodating us. Thanks to my technical team, led by Kiran and Jamal and Trevor, and of course Troy across in transmission. I'm Juanita Huburn. I hope that I'll see you tomorrow right here for another edition of News in Conversation. Good night, everybody.